Because I pay the throttle, an impeccable model of everything you've ever seen in your worst dreams and horrible nightmares at home in the night air. And yo, I'ma warn you one time, I don't fight fair.
What's up, my wizards? It's Dev from mtg down there on the youtube.com. We like magic. And today I got a deck tech for you that's sort of a surprise. I haven't talked too much about this thing yet. We're going to do black-red burn today, and from a buildability standpoint, there's a couple of awesome things about this deck. One, completely rotation proof. No Dragons of Tarkir, no Magic Origins in this thing, so you'll be able to play it for a long time. And it's only going to cost you like $10 on tcgplayer.com. So let's check this thing out, because it can actually win games for you. And if I look tired, it's because it's like 1:30 in the morning as I'm recording this. I just got back from Drag Queen Bingo, which was awesome. But enough about my night. Let's talk about the burn in our black-red burn deck. Now, there's a surprising amount of black burn in this format that's like actually really serviceable right now. But nonetheless, let's start with red burn here in the form of 4 copies of Galvanic Bombardment. Bombardment's going to be a pretty good substitute for Fiery Impulse once Impulse rotates when Kaladesh comes out. And barring any other good, 1-mana red burn that we might see in Kaladesh, this is going to be the replacement for it. I mean, the go-to replacement, And it's reminiscent of Impulse in that it'll take out 2 toughness guys in the early game and then get better in the mid to late game. And in the really late game, this is often better than Impulse. So, pretty good, reliable piece of burn here. Speaking of reliability, another piece of red burn. This is Incendiary Flow. We're going to play 4 copies of that too. Takes out everything from small dudes to Sylvan Advocate in the early game. Can hit them in the face, exiles creatures, can take out planeswalkers, hit you, redirect the damage to a walker. So just, again, really reliable piece. It only costs the 2 mana. Sucks at its sorcery speed, whatever. But still, pretty good piece of burn that we'll obviously play. Here's where things start getting a little trickier. Here's a piece of black burn, quote-unquote. Here's 4 copies of Collective Brutality, the most expensive card in the entire deck. It'll cost you about $1.45 on TCG Player. Not bad. Most expensive thing, less than $1.50. But Collective Brutality is obviously really versatile and does an awful lot for us. It's a Madness outlet, so we're playing a few things with Madness in the deck. So it's a Madness outlet. It can kill small guys. It can burn them and gain us back life, which a couple of our cards do, helping us stay in the game. Or it can take out instant or sorceries from their hand. So all of this stuff is really desirable, whether we're getting counter spells out of their hand or maybe game-breaking instants or sorceries. If we're killing their small guys that we just don't want to have to deal with, we can focus more burn on them by killing their dudes with Collective Brutality. We can just burn them in the face like we want to do with most of our cards here. So Brutality, this is one of the decks for it, especially considering, again, Madness outlet. We're playing 12 cards with Madness. So Brutality, this is a great home for it. And the card just does everything you want it to do. Definitely the most versatile piece in the deck. Speaking of Madness, here's a card with Madness. 4 copies of Avacyn's Judgment, the last thing for 2 mana that we'll be playing, at least in the burn suite. Just really have always liked Judgment since it came out, Pretty versatile thing too, It can either kill like a small dude and hit them for 1. It can kill a 2 toughness guy by itself. Late in the game, it can just win you the game, Madness it and deal like 7 damage to their face and end up winning. So lots of different stuff you can do with this. And I've always liked having, an X spell in my red burn decks. And this fulfills not only that role, but a couple of different roles. We can pitch it for Madness. We got a lot of Madness outlets in the deck. Or we can just play it for 2 mana and kill a small guy or maybe hit them for 2. So again, versatile piece of burn right here, and I just really like the card. Here's a funky piece. 4 copies of Alms of the Vein, continuing the Madness suite here. Alms of the Vein obviously can't hit creatures, but it's still really good. Hits them for 3 and gains us 3 life, which isn't as good as being able to hit creatures, but does sort of feel like a mini fog effect. It can help us win races against aggressive decks. So Alms of the Vein, really good, and we're obviously looking to Madness it for 1 most of the time, but you will catch yourself playing this for 3 mana occasionally. It's not a bad card. To finish off the Madness suite, 4 copies of Fiery Temper, because we're obviously playing Fiery Temper. I really don't have much more to say about it other than, this does a good impression of Lightning Bolt, so we're definitely going to play it, and it's one of the best burn pieces in the deck. And again, we're looking to cast this for just 1 mana, but you will catch yourself casting this for 3 some of the time. Good against creatures, good against players, and good against planeswalkers. Just one of the best burn pieces in the format. We're definitely going to do it. And last burn piece we're playing, I'm actually going to give you a choice here. The super budget version of the deck that I'm running for just $10 here is going to play 4 copies of Prying Questions, but you could play, if you had a couple of bucks, 4 copies of Collective Defiance, which could have probably been in a budget deck just a few weeks ago, but since the Pro Tour, it shot up to like $5 on TCG Player, which is not bad, but that's, that if we played a playset of Defiance, that's twice our budget right there. So Defiance, definitely if you have the money, play that card instead of Prying Questions, because that's another super versatile piece that does a lot of things we wanted to do. But Prying Questions is not bad. Another thing that can hit our opponent for 3, which is more damage than it sounds like, when like most of our spells hit them for 3, because it just piles on really, really quickly. And Prying Questions has a very annoying effect that basically replaces their next draw step. You know, oh, you're looking to actually draw gas next turn? You will draw this land, sir. So, Prying Questions, like that Chittering Rats effect doesn't look super desirable, but it's actually very annoying to play against. I'm also going to play 4 creatures in my burn deck. We're going to play 4 copies of Thermo Alchemist, definitely, because there's just tons and tons of instants and sorceries in the deck. I mean, except for the creatures and 1 enchantment, literally everything in the deck is an instant or sorcery. So, gotta play Thermo Alchemist, you know. For the most part, we're not playing creatures, which is good, because it blanks any removal that our opponent's playing. That can actually be a very, very good thing. So Thermo Alchemist does have a big target on his back, and he's the only thing that they'll be able to use their removal on, and trust me, they will. But that being said, he's still crazy if he's out for just a couple of turns, you know. You can tap him, cast a spell, untap him, tap him, cast a spell, untap him, tap him. Like sometimes this guy will do 3 or even 4 damage in 1 turn, depending on how much mana you got to burn. So, like, Thermo Alchemist is insane and can sometimes deal as much as 10 damage over the course of the game. And once you get 2 of these things out, it is freaking on. So, like, Alchemist is super dope, and I knew it. I picked him as the #1 common in the set. I'm not the only one that spotted the value on Alchemist. This is just obviously a very good card. As far as other spells in the deck, we're not playing too many of them, but I'm going to start with 4 copies of Tormenting Voice, because of course Tormenting Voice. And again, don't have too much to say about this. It helps us cycle through the deck, card selection is good, and provides a madness outlet. So I think there's no reason why we would not play all 4 Tormenting Voice. Just a definite yes. That said, let's get into some weirder stuff that's not obviously going to be in the deck. There's 1 copy of Shreds of Sanity in this deck, and Shreds of Sanity can sometimes be a game-ending card, you know. In the later game, if you just have a few minutes, it doesn't cost that much mana to do this. You know, you get back, say, an Alms of the Vein and a Fiery Temper, and you cast one of them when you have to discard a card. That can deal a lot of damage altogether, because you'll deal 3 off the Alms, you'll be able to cast the Fiery Temper again. And there's also times where you'll get back 2 burn pieces and discard a burn piece you already had and madness it, you know. Get back 2 burn pieces and discard the Fiery Temper you already had in your hand. Shreds of Sanity has been really good in sort of closing the game out, because it can deal upwards of 9 damage in total when you think about it. In the last kind of funky piece here, I'm just going to play 1 main deck copy. I've got more on the board. I'm going to play 1 main deck copy of Call the Bloodline here. Call the Bloodline is the only sort of renewable discard source that we have, the only madness outlet that we can use more than once. And I at least want to put the 1 of in the main deck, because I do like seeing it. At first there were 3 copies on the board, but I moved it to 2 board copies, 1 main deck, because this is pretty good against some aggressive decks in the format, helping us hold down the ground, gain a little bit of life off of our chump blocks, and sort of, again, help win the race. So Call the Bloodline, pretty good, pretty good. Does a couple of things for us in that we can use it as a madness outlet every turn. It turns late game lands that you don't want into creatures. That's also pretty good. So Call the Bloodline is just a solid card. 22 lands in the deck, and this is a pretty easy one, you know, just the uncommon tap land and a bunch of basics. But if you wanted to start anywhere in upgrading this deck, I would suggest the mana base first. You know, get yourself some Smoldering Marshes, some Foreboding Ruins, and throw them in. And they're not even super expensive, and they're a decent investment, because they'll be playable for a while now. So I would say definitely start there, but this is definitely a functioning land base too. Here's our sideboard right here, and the sideboard altogether will cost about $7.50. And you don't have to play Transgress the Mind if you don't have the budget for it, but it's a really good card here. It's like $1.25 right now. I'm on TCG Player, and on some sites it's as high as like $2.50. So just pretty expensive card, but Transgress could actually be in the main deck here, I think. Just a very solid piece that, you know, there are decks that go way over the top of anything that we can burn, and Transgress the Mind will help get those pieces out of their hand. That's very, very important. Dual Shot, good against, you know, decks with smaller creatures and tokens and such. So at least playable. Flaying Tendrils, ditto. You know, we need some sort of board wipe if we can possibly get one. And Flaying Tendrils is definitely the cheapest option, and not a bad one either. 3 Lightning Axe, another, you know, madness outlet is always good, and takes out big Sylvan Advocates. That's important. And another 2 copies of Call the Bloodline against very, very aggressive decks. Actually, Call the Bloodline is also pretty decent against Control, a renewable creature source that can, do things like if they want to Languish or something like that, while Languish is still in the format. If they want to Languish, Kozilek's Return, whatever, then we have something on the board that's sort of like a Planeswalker, We can just create a creature every single turn if that's what we want to do. Just renewable creature sources are also good against Control decks. So Call the Bloodline is not a bad piece. Here are your power rankings. A final score of 57, which is not bad for a $10 main deck at all. And we are kind of poor in a couple of stats, but good in others. We obviously have good defense because most of our deck is defense. Against 16 cards that can burn creatures is not bad. We're not super versatile or anything. We don't have a bunch of synergy because it's just burn their face off. We don't need to be synergistic, although we do have Madness and Madness Outlets. We have Thermo Alchemist. We have a couple of different synergistic pieces, but we're not heavy synergy in the deck. And again, burn itself is kind of versatile, but our game plan is not necessarily versatile. Again, just burn their face off. Take off the head and the body will fall. Altogether, the deck actually has pretty good game against some of the creature-based strategies that are already in the format, and it blanks removal against a lot of decks like White-Black Control. If we don't have a Thermo Alchemist out, they really have nothing to do with like 20 different cards in their deck. They just get burned, and they can't really do much. They end up playing a Gideon and trying to ride that to victory. We can just burn the Gideon off, So we do pretty well against Planeswalkers, which is decent against Control, and we blank Control's removal. And against aggressive strategies, we can just burn their creatures out. We've got a bunch of different ways to deal with decks in the format. So not a bad choice at all, especially for $10. And you can upgrade it with some lands, Collective Defiance, maybe Goblin Dark Dwellers goes in the deck. But there's really not a whole lot of upgrades, at least at present, until we see Kaladesh, that we can really throw into the deck, At least, even if you put all the upgrades in the deck, the lands, Goblin Dark Dwellers, Collective Defiance, I think you'd still get out the door for like less than $50. So pretty good and fun burn deck that you can play right now and on into next year. So give this thing a shot and let me know how you feel. That's all we've got for now, but what are we doing next time? I've already told you about the top 10 videos that I'm doing coming up here soon. Top 10 cards that never had a chance, cards that could have been contenders. I'm really excited to do that list. I want to do that in the next couple of days. But there's also a deck tech coming up here. What's the one you want to see next? And I'm pretty sure I know which one's going to win. Do you want to see green-red werewolves, rotation-proof werewolves, or do you want to see the 4-color Super Friends deck, the 4-color Deploy the Gatewatch deck? I really want to know which one you'd rather see, and I'm pretty sure green-red wolves is going to win, but I'm not completely convinced. So let me know which one you want to see more. Green-red wolves, rotation-proof, 4-color Super Friends, rotation proof. And with that, I think I'm done. So I will see you guys next time. If you enjoyed this content, go ahead and hit the like button. Easiest thing you can do and helps me the most. So good, returns for work having been done there. And then, you can also subscribe if you're new. You see all that awesome content coming up and blah, blah YouTube stuff. I'm Deb from SBMTG. Thanks for watching, my wizards.
Feel like something in my soul is just raising. I got a bounce in my step and I'm hanging up. New persona, I'm hotter than Arizona. My aura corona, and I'll be sicker than pneumonia.